Good morning, everyone. I am live on YouTube, I believe. I'm just going to double check this now. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. I am Joe Nakamoto. I am going to talk you through the Bitcoin news today, as well as Bitcoin global news. And we're also going to get on some wonderful guests, notably two British people who do some awesome stuff in the Bitcoin space. We're going to have on Freddie New, who you might be aware of already due to his work with Coin Corner and BHodl. And we are also going to have on, I call him Off-Grid Steve, but he goes by another name, an official name. I made a video about him 2 years ago now about how he turned his house in the United Kingdom into an off-grid Bitcoin mining haven. Now, hello, if you're tuning in from around the world. I'm just waiting for the green light to see if I'm live on Roxom, which I believe I am now. So hello to everyone on RoxomTV as well. My name is Joe Nakamoto. Welcome to the show today. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to talk Bitcoin. We're going to talk Bitcoin world news, and we're going to talk to some British Bitcoiners who do some wonderful stuff in the space. Now, the first thing to talk about this morning is, of course, el precio, or the price, if you're not Spanish. So what has happened over the past 24 hours? Well, we've had a big fat red candle. That's sad to see, isn't it? Good morning to Seb. I don't want to say your second name, Seb. I'm sorry in advance. I just can't bring myself to say the rest of it. But hello. I hope you're doing well. Hello from New Zealand. That's wonderful. This is what's really interesting about the live stream, because a lot of my audience on YouTube is American, right? It's about 60 or 70% now is American. It started off very British, then it sort of touched on Australia and New Zealand. And now it's got more and more American, because I guess just there are the most English speakers in the world in America. And America is also one of the most Bitcoin heavy places in the world. We also have Tony from Kenya. This is so interesting. So hello, Tony from Kenya. Now, the stats that I have on my YouTube studio, which I might actually share publicly because I find it fascinating, is that my viewership is growing, but it's growing in really interesting ways. But before I go into that, let's just talk about the price for a moment. So yeah, of course, we're at $107,817 as I'm speaking, which is the one Bitcoin price. We've had quite a bit of volatility since the start of October. We started out with Pumptober, or Uptober, as it's sometimes affectionately known, raising from as much as 114 to highs of $126,000 before, slipping under 110K. This will make mainstream media headlines, and it has done. Bloomberg's been talking about it. I don't think the BBC has touched on it, but that's also because the Bitcoin price in pounds hasn't quite hit that 100K mark yet. But yeah, we've seen a bit of Downtober as opposed to Uptober. For me, I always think that Bitcoin does the funniest thing. It's always the most hilarious outcome. And we have Uptober's most hilarious outcome, which is Bitcoin sliding down lower. Which, come on, that is a funny result, right? Because everyone thinks it's going to go up, and instead we just, slowly slide into lower lows, which is great to see. But for us as Bitcoiners and Bitcoin advocates and believers, it just means there are more cheap sats on the menu. So I hope that this isn't financial advice, of course, but I hope that people are finding ways to accumulate more Bitcoin. Hello to Jesse. Jesse came on yesterday. Good morning, sir. I hope the weather's nice in South Africa this morning. And let's show that on the screen. And hello to Stefan from Sweden. That's nice. I bet it's wet in Sweden today. It's very wet in Portugal where I am. Okay, so the plan for today's show, to bring you up to speed, I want to bring to the fore a couple of tweets that caught my eye, notably regarding the Amazon Web Servers outage yesterday. I also want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin as money, of course. That's my raison d'etre. And then I'm going to bring up Freddie New, who is the CEO of BHodl, which is one of these British Bitcoin companies, which is, in a way, it's kind of a spin-off from one of the most popular Bitcoin exchanges in the United Kingdom called Coin Corner. Coin Corner used to sponsor my YouTube channel. They are wicked. They do a lot of really, really useful stuff in the United Kingdom. But for me, the BHodl thing is fascinating, and we're also going to interrogate him. We're going to absolutely grill him about the price of BHodl and why it's not making us all mega multimillionaires. Thank you to Jim Bob. Yes, do hit the like, guys. That would be great to see. Hit the like so this live stream goes out to more and more people. Okay, a couple of tweets that caught my eye today. Firstly, it's that there are a lot of Bitcoin influencer types in Prague for the release of the new Trezor Safe 7. If you do not have a hardware wallet, Trezor is great. They are a really, really good Bitcoin company. Yes, they do crypto and ship coins and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, someone's already brought that up in the comments. Yeah, fair play, disguise what. Nice timing for the Trezor 7 Bitcoin only. Yes, exactly. And there is this auditable secure element by Satoshi Labs. The person that shared this tweet originally is Chris. Chris runs a Bitcoin hardware company, among other things. He's one of the tallest men in Bitcoin as well. And yeah, he's a decent bloke, but he's at the event as well as lots of other Bitcoin influencer types. I would have loved to have gone, but I'm still dying from my Ironman. Last night, I slept a grand total of 10 hours, which is the longest I've slept in about 2 years. But it did mean that when I woke up, I had a sort of crazy disorientation. Yeah, so this is a sexy looking hardware wallet. Maybe it's one for this Christmas for a loved one. It looks good. It's made by Trezor, so you know it's definitely made of awesome stuff. Trezor is the longest running hardware wallet company. They've also run the longest running Bitcoin mining pool. They founded Tropic Square. They've had all sorts of wonderful accolades to their name in the world of Bitcoin. So yeah, maybe one to check out. I'm not affiliated, by the way. The next tweet that caught my eye was from Casey Rodemore, who many in the Bitcoin space despise. He's actually quite a nice guy in person. He's quite funny. He's quite sharp. Now, he has reportedly, of course, this is his story. This is Twitter. People lie all the time. But he says that he's been paying his hairdresser with Lightning for almost 5 years. And she showed me her balance today, and she has stacked a little over $3,900 in Bitcoin. Now, I don't know what Casey pays his hairdresser, but that is either a lot of, maybe she charges him $50 a pop or something. I don't know the maths here, but or he has incredibly fast growing hair and he has to go to the hairdresser once a week. But that is really cool to see. And I hope that you guys, I wanted to use this tweet to inspire you guys to pay your hairdresser in Bitcoin. I pay my hairdresser in Bitcoin. He ended up trading shitcoins with it. But so that's just the truth. But he knows what Bitcoin is now, and he might take it a little bit more seriously in the next 6 months. With your hairdresser, there tends to be that sort of level of trust. So yeah, it's a great way to introduce someone to Bitcoin. And lots of people in the comments. For example, I wanted to highlight one from stupid Eric Wall, who says, my hairdresser lost her seed phrase. Eric Wall is a bit of a Bitcoin boomer, Bitcoin doomer. And he enjoys trolling Bitcoin people generally, saying that, Bitcoin's never going to work because of a seed phrase. Someone rightly commented, though, tell him to use Bitkey. Bitkey, if you're not familiar, is a sort of smart way of doing a multi-sig, and it means you can't really lose your seed phrase. It's a little bit controversial in the hardcore Bitcoin Puritan space, but personally, I'm a big fan. Okay, a couple more tweets, but before we bring up Freddie New, the key thing here is that Ethereum had some serious trouble yesterday. Jeff Bezos was, of course, very happy about it. Is it Bezos or Bezos? I don't really know. Jim Bob says he hasn't got any hair, but he's saving so much Bitcoin. Good on you, man. You and Jeff Bezos are saving lots of money that you could have put into Bitcoin. Now my computer's frozen. Beautiful. Now it's back online. Cool. So the joke here from Pelotor is that there's a captcha, test to make sure you're a human. And you've got to select all the Ethereum validators. And they are, of course, all Jeff Bezos. He was quote tweeting a comment from Samson Mo. It's not Mao, it's Mo, who said how lots of the Ethereum nodes went offline. Now, who cares about Ethereum, Joe? Like, why are you even talking about this? Well, it's just another way of you discussing with your friends, discussing with your peers, discussing with your family that, Ethereum is a bit crap, right? It doesn't do so well. And it's I'm going to put myself like that. Sorry. It's a centralizing force, which is only going to get more and more centralizing. So the outage caused by this Amazon Web Service failure knocked out JSON RPC access to Ethereum mainnet and several layer 2 networks like Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, Linear, Base, and Scroll for about 3 hours. Now, that's a big deal because Infura handles over half of Ethereum's transaction traffic. So when people say, oh, Ethereum is decentralized, it is secure, it's like, well, there was a couple of hours where a lot of its transaction traffic was throttled because of Amazon Web Servers going offline. So I don't know about you guys, but I would much rather my blockchains just work than having random outages due to Jeff Bezos sleeping in, or maybe he did an Iron Man this weekend. I don't know. Point being, these the Ethereum blockchain is useful for speculation, for creating tokens, and for general gambling, but it's not useful to everyone all the time across the world, which Bitcoin fortunately is. Okay, I'm going to go wash my mouth out. That was way too much discussing Ethereum. Let's talk about something else. This was a tweet that I saw from NVK, which is a little bit triggering. It is a little bit triggering. Basically, he has a neighbor who asks him, "Oh, so do you have Bitcoin?" And he replies to them, "No, it is a Ponzi." This tweet refers to OPSEC, or operational security, the idea that we shouldn't ever own up to owning Bitcoin. Why is that? Because, well, it can get you into trouble. What if your neighbor is a bad actor? What if your neighbor, you've just met your neighbor for the first time? What if they discover you've got a lot of Bitcoin and they decide to perform what's called a $5 wrench attack? They knock on your door with a $5 wrench in their hand and they try to kidnap you and take away your Bitcoin. It's something that we should all be thinking about more and more. And possibly it could be why we have seen more and more Bitcoin treasury companies, because that's a little bit harder to steal. And by the way, in case you're wondering, that was my segue into bringing Freddie onto the stage this morning. I have no idea how that segue has gone, but we're going to bring him up anyway. Freddie, mate, how are you today? How are things?
Hey, very good, thank you. Nice to see you. How are you?
I am dead. I did an Ironman on Saturday and I couldn't walk up the stairs yesterday. And last night I slept about 10 hours nonstop for the first time in about 2 years, which was amazing. But I'm so broken. I'm so broken.
Oh, good work.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a big admirer of your shirtless steps on social media. So,
I've lost
condition.
I've lost so much weight though, Freddie. Like I was 85 kilograms when I started doing a Ironman training, and then I got down to race day. I was 77 kg, so lost. And most of it was like muscle mass, and because you become a carbohydrate machine, and someone that is just able to do endurance sport for a long time, but you don't need to lift anything heavy, so you just become stick thin. So yeah, not recommended to the steak eating, weightlifting, maxis. Is Ironman are not for them. And I'm almost like reluctant to share photos of just how skinny I was. Like the finish line photo, I look like I don't know, like a skeleton finishing a race. It's not good. But I did it, and that's the main thing, right?
Congratulations. Yeah. Good effort. And also now, if your body fat is low, you're in ideal position to smash a bunch of steak into you, lift some heavy weights, and you'll gain a huge amount of muscle mass very, very fast. I'm kind of jealous.
This is actually the plan. So I want to do a so I'm going to remove Jim Bob's comment. I don't know if you can see that Jim Bob's comment that we're talking about hairdressers and saving Bitcoin, and he's saying that he doesn't have any hair. But I want to do a 30-day like only eating meat challenge and try to do it with Bitcoin as well to really raise the stakes. But I'm wondering if this is the skinniest I've been for like the past 10 years, then how much muscle mass and how much mass can I realistically put on without doing that much carbs as well? So yeah, it'll be interesting to quite a lot.
Well, I've seen what you were like before. So your muscle mass there, and I mean, my personally, after dropping weight and putting it back on, is you will bounce back really fast. It'll be interesting. Okay. Do it. We'll all sponsor you.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, meat and gym and health aside, how are things going with you? And also, thank you so much for jumping on the live stream so last minute this morning. I really wanted to talk about BHODL, of course, and what's going on in Britain with Bitcoin. I am obviously British, but I live in Portugal, have done for a few years now. And it's always nice to speak to British Bitcoiners to get a sense of what's going on the ground. To those that are watching and aren't familiar with Freddie's work, he is the new CEO or the only CEO, sorry, there wasn't one before him because it's a brand new outfit. He is the CEO of BHODL. BHODL is one of Britain's more popular Bitcoin treasury companies. And it is, in a way, it's kind of like a spin-off from Coin Corner, as a lot of the leadership and senior leadership at Coin Corner moved over to help sort of run BHODL. But they also had, an ex-PayPal guy, and of course, Freddie, who comes from sort of I don't know what to just, it's like corporate law. Is that the best way to sort of just sum it up in a word? Corporate law, is that your background?
Originally, yeah. So I was corporate law for a long time, and then I moved into startup work. So I've been really more than half a decade experience in and two broad areas as well. So pay tech and hello Molly, thank you. That's very sweet of you. And obviously we also love Molly as well. So in and around pay tech and engineering most of the time, and then as part of that, I did dull, and I wrote a lot of very lengthy and in-depth papers for FCA, HMRC, Treasury, Bank of England, the government. I've given on Bitcoin, Bitcoin as distinct from the wider cryptocurrency market, as you personally know, and then as part of my desire to come and work more fully. But then the opportunity came to head up this new company that CoinConnors was essentially spinning out, and floating. Happy to dive straight into what we are, what we do, how we are.
Well, I want to know. I want to do some basic stuff. That's really basic, like basic bitch stuff. Okay. Why are treasury company stocks going down so much? Why are they going down? Why is BHODL able to not go down? Because BHODL is pretty much flat, right? So let's talk price first before we go into the inner workings of it. Because people buy these things because, yeah, they like Bitcoin, they like, the stock side of things, but they're doing it also to make some money and ideally to outcompete Bitcoin. And yet, most people over the past 6 months who have bought a Bitcoin treasury company treasury company, this could be your Metaplanet, it could be your Naka, it could be any of these, Swedish ones, the Norwegian ones, all of them are down over the past 6 months already. And yet BHODL is not. So firstly, why is everything down? Can you explain to me that? And then also why is BHODL okay?
I think there's an interesting point here, and please remind me to come back to it if I can. I think it's important to understand conceptually what a treasury company is and what it does. So if we can come back to that, remind me of that if I waffle past it. Why are companies down? So I think it's important to think about how normal companies are valued and how Bitcoin treasury companies are valued. Company valuation is a bit of a dark art, and it's something that I did a lot of in my previous life as a corporate lawyer. So for context, I worked in private equity and VC-backed companies, and often in distress situations. Okay. And in each of those, you'll often have a different kind of metric to value a company. People may be familiar with what's called an EBITDA cash multiple. So EBITDA is earnings before various things are taken off, such as interest payments or tax or amortization and so on. So that essentially means the cash flow coming in the door before you make a certain number of different deductions. And then a private equity company looking to purchase a company might say, right, so I'm going to hold this company for 5 years. And during that 5-year period, I'm going to make certain incremental improvements to it, which might increase the cash flow. So I will then have an EBITDA. Effectively, I'll have a cash flow multiple, which might be 5, 10, sometimes even 12 times the amount of cash that it brings in a single year. And those valuations could quite easily get out of hand at the top of the private equity boom. For example, we were seeing 12x multiples for companies, which is pretty daft, particularly if you're the
buyer. Putting it lightly there, I like that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so an essential point to remember about valuations is that they can get out of hand, and if they do, they tend to correct. Another normal of valuing a company is called and that's a discounted cash flow multiple. Right. Principle is the same. You look at the amount of cash coming into the business, and then you multiply that by a potential number of years that you might be holding the business. Hedge funds often valued on what's called an AUM multiple. That's assets under management multiple, and that I think is edging closer to what will be, to my mind, a better way of valuing a treasury company. An AUM multiple looks at the assets you have under management and how much cash flow they generate, how much income they throw off, and then you multiply that again by a number of years. So treasury companies, as you'll know, and most of your listeners will know, have been slavishly valued by the MNAV, the MNAV calculation. Basically, that is it's a premium that you would pay for the shares over the value of the assets which the company holds. So using round numbers, let's say you hold 100 Bitcoin. On an MNAV of 1, the value of your company's shares would effectively be the value of your holdings. That assumes, of course, there's no additional value in the company over and above the assets held. And so I think it's, as a mental model, it can be useful to think about trust. Or actually, I did a lot of restructuring work for care homes, which weirdly, and actually I don't think I've ever discussed this publicly before, and I think about this a lot. I'm such a boring person.
No, don't worry. Freddie, like, if it makes you feel any better, I lived in a care home for 6 months just before I left London as part of, so you might have been restructuring where I lived due to, do you know guardianship, like the guardian stuff? I can't remember what you actually call it, but basically you get really cheap rent living in London because you live in properties that are sort of in limbo. They're going to be turned into something else, but they're not quite ready to do it. There's some law in place. I don't know what it is. But basically, I was offered an old pub or a care home, and I lived in this care home in Camberwell for 6 months, and it was awesome because I could get from the entrance hall of the care home to my room without touching the ground like Spider-Man, because there were so many handrails everywhere. So that's like one of the things we do when we come back from a night out. It's like the floor is lava, but do it across an entire care home. It was a lot of fun. But yes, you might have restructured where I lived, and it was back then. It was £400 a month rent. This was 2018. So this was absurdly cheap London rent. And I had a decent room that was en suite, and the kitchen was ginormous because it was the old care home kitchens. So like huge, you know, there was like 12 stoves. It was amazing. So yeah, you might have
I was doing care home restructurings in 15, 16, 17, 18. So I'm not sure. This isn't quite a care home, but this is a McCarthy and Tombstone from, they used to build housing for some residential people who could still look after themselves. That was 5.7 million restructuring. That all went tits up. Anyway, so the reason I bring them up is because if you're a real estate holding business, then one fairly noddy way of valuing your business is to look at what's the underlying value of each of the plots of land or the houses that you hold. And in restructuring context, that might have happened if the business is collapsing and you're looking at the breakup value of the company. It's simple valuation of how much is each of these houses hold, how much is the value of each of these plots of land. That's a very, very simple valuation, and the reason I bring that up is because that is the analogy to an MNAV of 1 valuation. So the MNAV of 1 valuation might be looking at essentially a breakup value. What is the value of the assets held by the company? But of course, the interesting thing about companies is that they create value in all kinds of other ways over and above the holding of their assets. You know, they provide products and services that people want, and people pay for those, and then that payment, whatever form it takes, creates cash flow into the business, and then that enables some of the more traditional value. And please stop me if I'm gabbling.
No, I'm following. I hope people in the comments are following as well. But I'm following. Yeah. So yeah, MNAV 1 is just the literal value of what they hold, but then over and above that is because they might offer something supplementary. And you're going to relate this to care homes some way in a second.
Yeah. Well, and the income for care homes is the rent paid by the residents, and so that it's a relatively simple business model. You know, there are outgoings and costs for looking after the residents. They pay for their accommodation and care. Delta between those two is ideally the profit for the care home holder. So you don't value the care home business just on the value of the assets it's held. You value it in respect of the amount of cash flow generated from those assets. You may see where I'm going here. This is a very, very long and laborious point to say. One of the things we're trying to do at BHODL is actually to generate safe, self-custodial revenue from the assets that we hold. And I think that is the thing that distinguishes us from all but I think one of the other treasury companies in the world. There's one other company that aims exactly Liquid, who have recently released some rather interesting results to the market as to how they're managing to generate revenue from Bitcoin. So one of the questions that we were set up to answer was, Alan Farrington's famous show, where does the yield come from? And I will shut up in a second, but I think the rather laborious point there was that obviously a treasury company, yes, holds what we believe to be the unquestionable asset, the gold of the future, the store of value, with an unrivaled compound annual growth rate in and of itself. Looking ahead to the long-term life of a company, companies need to generate cash flow in order to survive and in order to perhaps to move into a more traditional valuation metric. And we believe that our model shows that we've done that, and we will be able to generate revenue from the holding of our Bitcoin.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is the cut above, but does that explain why BHODL's price is fine and every other treasury company is going down? Is this how we're answering the question? You guys can do something with the Bitcoin that you hold in the form of, Lightning and making a bit of yield on it, whereas everyone else is missing this trick. Is that what we're saying?
I'd like to say yes, but I need to be honest and truthful and say, markets are often sentiment driven, and say it's because the market has listened to what we've said and what we're trying to do.
Okay. Yeah. When I'm sorry, I'm not sure if my internet connection is a bit dodgy or if it's just the live stream, but I apologize to anyone watching if we're a little bit jerky. It's not intentional at all. But when it comes to the actual Lightning stats, I know that BHODL was going to release something soon. Is there anything you can speak of today about what you've discovered in terms of generating this yield with Lightning?
I need to be careful because obviously we listed, we can't put results out much as I'd like to release them to you. And again, for context for the market, when we launched, we said that we were immediately going to start work on optimizing our node for routing. We have a number of different potential strategies for generating revenues, some of which I can't talk about, some of which I can.
Okay.
And we also felt that we needed to have a sensible period of time between our IPO and between our first results in order to give good data to the market. One of the weird things about your returns from a node that's optimized for routing is you can have a fantastic day on day one and then 2 terrible days on days 2 and 3. So if you then release a 3-day peak data, it would be enormously skewed by both the upside and the downside. So we took a relatively conservative view that we would we wanted at least a full month's worth of data between when we began optimizing for routing and between when we released results. Nice. What I can say is that we are live, we are routing, we do have some results, and in terms of what they are, I think our publicly disclosed information in the admission document, upper end of what's achievable is about what we've seen in the market, about 9%, and the lower end is sort of about 1%. So that's sort of the range of return that you might see. And again, I'm having to be very careful not to give out material non-public information here.
Yeah. Can you speak to the nodes which have been like? Is it the Wallet of Satoshi one? Is it the async one? The Phoenix one? Is it sort of a lot of bouncing between the big nodes, or is this a lot of? I mean, like yesterday, Plan B Lugano released this video of Adam Back. It was actually from last year, but it always makes me laugh because it's Adam Back paying for stuff in Lugano, like a coffee and an Aperol spritz, this kind of stuff, and he's paying with Wallet of Satoshi. The guy that's listed on the Bitcoin white paper is paying with what was previously a very custodial Lightning wallet. There is now a self-custody option within Wallet of Satoshi. Well, some people are quite Puritan about it and say that it's not strictly self-custody, which is technically correct, but it's a step forward towards self-custody, right? But yet you've got Adam Back using this custodial Lightning wallet. So are you seeing a lot of activity between these sort of big custodial sort of Lightning giants, and it's not a lot of the little stuff? Is that what the node is sort of typically doing? I'm just trying to ask stuff that I think you would be able to comment on right now and not put you in any trouble, basically.
Yes, so I think that's a good example, and actually I might weirdly use bless you. I might use the Binance node as an example. So one advantage that exchanges have is that they can position their nodes as effectively the gatekeeper between the on and off ramp. So I think Binance is the preferred route for all Lightning transfers off the platform and also into the platform. So that node is not being capitalized, but it has a huge amount of traffic. And as you all know, the great thing about and exhaust the Bitcoin that's in it, you simply pass effectively the IOUs between each other. So you can use the amount of Bitcoin that's in there again and again and again to generate effectively a flywheel of revenue within that node. As long as you work carefully to ensure that it's always rebalanced and you have sufficient outbound and inbound liquidity, which is part of the reason that this is a hard to do and why we have good engineers at BHodl doing it. So yes, the volatility node is, in fact, my little node used to be connected to that one as well. I run a little Lightning node from my my AlbiGo wallet.
I do Albi as well.
Do you?
Cool.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. Well, not currently. It's currently sat in the corner unplugged because I've moved into a new office recently. But I'm getting the email. I'm getting the email every day saying, "Hello, we are having trouble finding your node." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's because it's just not plugged in over there."
Yeah, I know.
I moved into a new place recently and I haven't got around to it.
Yeah. So to answer your question, yeah. So part of the strategy is positioning your node strategically within the network, perhaps to an underserved route, or perhaps in proximity to a network participant that you know is going to be making a lot of different transfers. And that's part of the game in maximizing the amount of flow through your node and therefore the amount of revenue you can generate.
Right, gotcha. I mean, I just wanted to bring up a comment from Puniliz, not how to pronounce your name, I'm very sorry. But he says, they say, I discovered Lightning last week and I am mind blown. Right now, I'm stacking around $1 worth of sats daily and it feels nice. I bet it does feel nice. It's but this is one of the things that I find is so fascinating about the Bitcoin space generally is that, when you first get sort of proverbially orange pilled or introduced to Bitcoin, this Lightning thing almost sounds like another cryptocurrency in its entirety. And I will get comments like, for me, when I publish a video, it will be seen by sort of like subscribers and then sort of the wider net of subscribers or potential subscribers. And this is when I get like really interesting comments, insightful comments, and sort of people that know what they're talking about will comment stuff about Bitcoin. And they'll be like, oh, that's so interesting that at minute, 133, someone paid 12 sats for the, a $12 thing. That's a 0.01%, fee over the Lightning Network. Maybe they could have paid it on chain instead. Sort of like slightly geeky, but like really insightful comments. And then once it gets outside of that net, I start to get the YouTube algorithm will show this video to people that think Bitcoin is a scam, or they think that, Zcash is the future, or they think that, Bitcoin burns the oceans. And that's when people will be like, this Lightning thing sounds like a Ponzi, or Lightning doesn't scale, or I've never heard about Lightning before. I thought that Bitcoin confirmed every 10 minutes and, how are they paying instantly? And so it makes me realize that within our little bubble of like Bitcoin and Lightning sort of maxis, let's call it, we are, we understand this thing, but there's a whole long tail of people that just think that Bitcoin is this 10-minute transaction time, super slow, doesn't scale up. And that's why we have the crypto thing. So I guess I'm rambling here to sort of formulate a question. And that is kind of along the lines of, when are we going to just see this sort of, not disintermediation, but an understanding that, okay, Lightning is an integral part of Bitcoin. And are we just going to stop saying Lightning in 5 or 10 years? And you're just going to have your Bitcoin yield management strategy, which obviously we know in the background is Lightning. Or are we just going to have to educate everyone that there is Bitcoin, there is Lightning, there will be other layers? Like, how is this whole thing going to play out, do you think?
I tend to look at the existing financial system for a guide as to where we're going to go eventually. For example, if you talk to the person in the street, they're not going to know what a derivative is. They're not going to know what collateral debt obligation is. They're not going to know what a leverage buyout is. And they probably don't need to. You and I have a reasonably good understanding of computers, but I can't code. I build computers for fun, or at least I used to back in the days when I still had fun. Those are far in my past now. So I had a reasonable working knowledge of how a computer functions, but the majority of people who use a laptop just open it and turn it on. And I think that's another example of how eventually, Bitcoin will become just the thing you pay with. My hope eventually, long term, is that we'll finally live in a world where you're not thinking about what you're doing. You're just paying a price for something. You scan a QR code and you leave the shop, or you just tap the button on your browser, and there's an automatic pull from your browser-based Lightning wallet. You don't know, how the payment is made. You don't need to know. So part of what we're trying to do is make Bitcoin boring and ensure that neither of us eventually have jobs.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We are weirdly trying to shoot ourselves in the foot over a long period of time, aren't we? We're trying to make Bitcoin boring in the process. Nice Action asks, how much yield can you generate in Lightning payments? You kind of touched on this earlier, but would you be able to just directly attack his question?
Yes, of course. So the current data out of the market suggests a range between 1 and 9 or so %. Obviously, there are certain things you can do to edge further towards that 9 level, and those include some techniques I've talked about, such as positioning yourself at a strategic place in the network between large participants that need to make a large number of payments that are underserved, or perhaps as effectively the gating node to an exchange that. So, and ensuring that as well that the node is well capitalized, of Bitcoin in it, in order to make sure that you don't have, that you can handle larger payments basically, and at the same time making sure that you have proper inbound and outbound liquidity management at the same time.
Right.
As to how much yield we specifically can generate, it's the 21st of October now. We're looking to announce in the early part of November. So keep an eye out for announcements as to what we've managed to achieve so far.
Nice. Okay. Oh, it'd be good if it was on the 5th of November. Just, I would like the romance of that. So
there's a mask over there. I could do it in there.
Yeah. I mean, we should lean into this branding a bit more. I think it's still relevant. But changing sort of lanes a tiny bit here. So yesterday there was this massive Amazon Web Services outage, right? And that was particularly sort of relevant or potent, let's say, in the crypto space because a load of Ethereum sort of mainnet things went down, like the Polygon mainnet, the Arbitrum mainnet, like these various layers built on Ethereum. There are some people waking up this morning seeing this and going, oh my God, Bitcoin or Bitcoin Lightning is going to be affected. How important or how affecting was that Amazon Web Services outage for the Bitcoin space? Like how much software, it's not the right word, is it? How much is that firmware? I don't know how much serverware is used by the Bitcoin space from Amazon Web Services. Sorry that I formulated that question like really, really dopily, but I think you know what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah. No, I understand. So obviously the base layer is completely unaffected because it doesn't use Amazon. It doesn't use AWS at all. And by the base layer, I'm referring to the chain of transactions in effectively the server. So my node, I run 2 nodes at home. Both of those were unaffected. As far as I'm aware, no miners were affected either. So in other words, the process of broadcasting transactions to the network, those transactions being collected in the mempool by miners, the miners competing to find blocks being added to the time chain, that the basic process of the functionality of the Bitcoin network was completely unaffected. And in fact, in that respect, I did actually make a test transaction myself yesterday just to be sure, and it confirmed the normal amount of time that you'd expect. All seemed to be working fine. Great, because I enjoy dunking on people who use AWS. And it's nice to check first that you were unaffected. Otherwise, it's, whenever you correct someone's grammar on social media, there's a rule, isn't there, that you will always yourself make a grammatical error when you're correcting the person.
Did you just split your infinitive when correcting me? Yeah.
Yes.
I can imagine it happening. Yeah. Okay, because ultimately there is no direct dependency, right, on Amazon Web Services in the Bitcoin space, whereas in the crypto space, a lot of it is sort of outsourced to Jeff. Jeff Bezos, our best friend.
Exactly. So if you are running something in the cloud, and of course, people need to remember the cloud isn't up there. The cloud is someone else's. When you say the cloud, you're talking about someone else's computer. So if you are running something on someone else's computer, I don't know actually Voltage, who provide cloud-based nodes. Do they run on AWS? I don't know the answer to that, but it might be worth checking.
Check their Twitter feed and see if they had a. Sorry, guys, a little bit of an outage yesterday.
Yeah, that's the only one I can think of. Obviously, some exchanges were inaccessible. I think Coinbase may have been inaccessible. Apologies.
Yeah, they were. Base wasn't working, and Coinbase is like Base's layer. It's their layer 2 or something. I know there was some outage with that because it uses AWS.
Right.
And inevitably, like because they talk to a lot of these other sort of layer 2s in the crypto space, they will have been affected for that sort of 2 or 3 hour period that AWS was struggling or offline. And then also, didn't Kraken have a scam wick where the Bitcoin price dropped by like 10K because its APIs relied on AWS? But again, this is like Bitcoin tangential, I guess, and it just goes to show that you should always have some limit orders set up at what you perceive to be a very, very low price. I was reminded that the other day.
Pleasantly.
Say again. Sorry, I missed that.
Well, I hope it's a pleasant reminder.
Yeah, no, it was. I got paid in something in USDT because they didn't have any Bitcoin to pay me in. And so I did that thing, which I haven't done for a long time, which was set up limit orders on an exchange. And I put them far too conservative. And then during the last week or 2 weeks ago crash, where there was like that really serious volatility, I was like, oh yeah, I forget this is Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't just slowly trend up. There are occasional like really fun days where, you know, things go mad. My stream just disappeared.
We appear to have lost Joe.
Can you still hear me, or is it just...
Hello, you're coming back, Joe.
Okay, I'm going to sort out my camera. I think my camera may have just overheated. But in the meantime, I'll ask you a question and make you front and center of the stage while I sort that out. So the question was going to be, well, I'm just going to check the comments to see if anyone is asking something. So your boy mentioned that the AWS affected my Coinbase directly. Buying Bitcoin was paused for 12 hours. That is pretty worrying. Yeah, you don't want that. Okay. Let's bring up the wider point. I mean, 2 days ago, you shared a tweet about how HMRC might start seizing money from people's, bank accounts. Is this really going to happen? Is this not just a fear tactic? What do you think? Do you think seriously HMRC does have the power to do that? Can it do that? And I'll sort out my camera.
Yes. Unfortunately, this is not a hoax. It is something that it's a power that HMRC do have. I don't have one of my previous tweets in front of me, but I can re-up that after the show if it's helpful. It's a relatively old confiscation power, actually, that dates back a number of years. Essentially, it's an ability to recover debts that HMRC believes it owed as a result of non-payment of tax. From memory, this was put into law from a statutory instrument that made an amendment to one of the pieces of financial legislation, potentially the Financial Services and Markets Act, which is kind of our all-seeing and all-dancing, as you guess from the name, financial services piece of legislation. The really egregious thing here for me is that it's effectively an ability to fine people without the ability for them to have any recourse or pushback. And in that context, it really reverses quite an old principle of law, which most people would have heard of, which is the presumption of innocence. So if the state accuses you of a crime, the working assumption of the entire legal system is that you have not done that crime until the state has proven beyond reasonable that you have done it. And ordinarily that happens in front of a jury of your peers. And until that moment, you're completely innocent. You're sitting in the courtroom until the verdict comes through. And the worrying thing about the about this kind of confiscation power, and this obviously leads more broadly into the general concerns around CBDCs and digital ID. This kind of confiscation power is that you don't have any challenge that decision before the effects of that decision are real. So, for example, if use a parking fine, lots of people will have had parking fines through the door, and they'll say, unless you pay this money by this particular point, it'll go up and up and up. But when you get that piece of paper through the door, you have an opportunity to challenge it and say, well, actually, no, that's not my car, or I did actually pay. Your challenge is wrong. And quite often, I've done it myself. Quite often, they'll respond and say, oh, actually, yeah, we made a mistake. We won't. We'll drop the charge. In the world where or they think you parted legally, and then suddenly £100 disappears from your account, you're like, well, hang on, you've already taken my money. And in some instances, people might not be able to afford legal advice or be able to challenge that.
Or have the time.
It's important. I mean, possession is 9/10 of the law. Once the money's gone, it's there, and then you've got a lot of work to do in order to get that back. Whereas until you agree to pay them the money, then the power is on your side.
Yeah, and it's a scary sort of, I mean, these dystopian films of the 90s and the dystopian like sort of literature of the 20th century does seem to be becoming more and more a reality. And it's the idea that HMRC could just seize your money. It's a terrifying headline, and yet a lot of people will just be like, well, I suppose that's just how it's going to be now. And it's like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be. This is another sort of systems failure that's going to affect a lot of, I don't even want to use the word innocent, because it assumes that there's some sort of like horrible criminal act at play here. Just regular people. Because, like you say, like parking fines, sometimes, there is an emergency. Sometimes more often than not, it's a parking meter that's faulty, or a system that's in place that doesn't quite work properly, which ends up, or the classic thing. I mean, I spent the weekend a lot of time with my mum, who's now in her 60s. And I just found it really fascinating seeing her interact with stuff that for most people now is second nature. For example, getting an Uber. She doesn't really know how to get an Uber, because she's just like my dad, her husband, has always just been the one to navigate and to do that sort of thing. And she was traveling alone to see me. And I was like, oh, Mum, like, here's the location. Just get an Uber there. And she's like, oh, how do I do that? And I was like, oh, crap. And I had to sit down with her and talk her through, like, how to use Uber. And, the first time she did it, she scheduled it for tomorrow at 10 a.m. I was like, no, we want it now. And then, watching her use Apple Pay. And it takes her like 4 attempts to do it, because the first time she does it, she just taps her phone, thinking that the phone just knows to do Apple Pay. The second time she does it, she double taps but doesn't do the Face ID. The third time she does it, she just double tap Face ID, takes a photo. The fourth time, and you're just watching it like, oh my God, like, my mum is a very intelligent woman. She is a very competent doctor. She's done, whole career in the NHS, all this sort of stuff. And then basic tech stuff, for example, using a parking meter, paying with Apple Pay, that kind of stuff is really, really hard. And it's a tough thing to learn. So imagine someone in their 70s or their 80s or their 90s trying to interact with these things. And then one day they receive a message through the door saying, hello, HMRC is going to take this £80 out of your account. And then, for that month, you've gone from having, two bits of meat on Friday and Sunday to nothing at all throughout the week. It's really, I don't know, it makes me very, very sad about the state of the UK generally, but it also makes me want to sort of put on an anonymous mask and do something about it. Listen, Freddie, I know you don't have a huge amount of time for someone. Is there anything else? Do you have more time? Are you okay to?
That's right. I've moved a few things around, so I can actually. While you were talking, I was in Nashville last week at the Global Bitcoin Summit. Working.
Oh, nice.
Great
How
event.
was it?
But it's always, I mean, haven't you? I always feel like a lame desk jockey when I leave. I sit behind a keyboard writing stuff, and no, I mean, one of the hardest things to listen to was the keynote speaker from a guy from Lebanon, and how he was trying to save his kids and keep them safe, stop them from worrying from bombs which were falling. He was blowing up balloons and popping them so his kids didn't get scared. And I was just so But the reason he was there was even though he had to flee, he managed to leave with all his money on a Bitcoin hardware wallet. And the fines directly from bank accounts. We had a number of Iranian activists there, and one of the stories that really came out was that a lot of women were walking around without the hijab on, without face coverings, and the Iranian regime has been using Chinese-bought facial recognition cameras to automatically fine these women from their bank accounts, or to the extent they had access to finance. But they were still, Bitcoin donations were still capable of being made to them, and the regime was apparently very perplexed as to how these women were still able to keep defying the regime and keep doing what they were doing.
Amazing.
Despite the continual automatic deduction from their finances.
Yeah. Was that Roy Mabu by any chance?
Roy and Massey, you may have come across her. She's and two Iranian women were there as well. Roy was on stage as well. Yep. But yeah, the thing is, this isn't an exaggeration. It's already they already have the technology in place to do it, and they are beginning to do it in terms of what they call unpaid tax bills. But again, the key thing there is that not every unpaid tax bill is correct. And the key issue is, firstly, they shouldn't be able to take money out of your bank account because that money is yours until they've proven that it's not. And secondly, if they simply also money in your bank account, you're automatically on the back foot. You are then trying to get that money back out of an enormous government machine, and very clear where the power lies in that, and it's not with you.
Yeah. I mean, the HRF generally, I know that I was supposed to go to the Nashville Summit this year and last year, and I couldn't make it for various reasons. But I will be at the Oslo. I want to be at the Oslo Freedom Forum next year, and I wish that there were more Bitcoiners who are sort of more switched on to what the HRF is doing, because basically what Alex Gladstein, like the COO or CSO, the HRF does is he just sort of goes around finding these amazing stories of Bitcoin working where there's too much government overreach or some authoritarian, totalitarian sort of regime, and ways in which regular people are using Bitcoin to sort of usurp or sidestep these regimes. And it's just really awesome to see. And it's one of those things where you're like, you can't use anything else but Bitcoin to do this, and it's just incredibly powerful. Now, just to bring up one of the comments from a lady in the UK, I think she's based in Cornwall. It was just in relation to sort of your parking fine and HMRC example. She says, "This is what terrifies us, doing our best to get off disability benefits, but everything is seemingly against us, and the more vulnerable that are doing their best to get off benefits, but we still can't work." And she then shares that it's hard to get back in the beginner neurons of the brain. Isn't just the elderly, as we're 45 and have different mental abilities, but we resonate deeply with, I guess, my mum. But this is the thing, right? Is that in an increasingly tech world where, like you built computers, like I did a little bit of that when I was a kid, but never got to the stage of actually fully building one. I consider myself relatively technically capable, but in the Bitcoin space, you're there with the mega nerds, the uber nerds, and the people that live, breathe tech. So you suddenly feel incredibly incapable, and then you go and sort of interact with the wider public, and you realize, no, like if you next time you're at the supermarket, just watch how people interact with tills, with self checkouts, with Apple Pay. All this sort of. You realize that even though we think that Apple Pay is very slick and Android Pay very, very easy to use, there are still thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that are really, really struggling with it. So the idea that the HMRC can suddenly just reach into your bank account, it's quite a scary prospect, I guess. But okay, so a final sort of Bitcoin related question about the UK. There's a lot of big sort of Bitcoin activity in the UK in the coming months. There's a conference in Derby, I think it is, the Competitive Advantage it's called. There's Bitfest in Manchester, and Liz Truss is being more and more vocal. To the platforms that will have her on, she's being more and more vocal about sort of Bitcoin and hard money and those kind of things. Peter McCormack is making waves with his podcast. You are making waves with B Hodl, and B Hodl has had some media coverage. And on top of that, Smarter Web did an incredible mega pump at the start of the year, and it's sort of still going strong. So there is clearly some Bitcoin interest in the UK, and it is toddling along, let's say, not in the same way that, you know, the US or Canada has sort of Bitcoin activity, but there are some sort of spots of, you know, optimism and light, and, you know, it's a good thing to see, particularly someone that's not based in the UK but looks in and thinks, okay, the state of the UK is getting worse. However, there is this tremendous optimism from the Bitcoin space, and that's wonderful to see. What do you think are like the key ingredients that the UK is missing right now in order for it to be a bit more serious as like a Bitcoin nation, as a place where, you know, Bitcoin as money could really implant itself?
Probably two things come to mind immediately. On your last point, Bitcoin is money. At the moment, we don't have a particularly imaginative tax regime as regards spending of Bitcoin. So the disposal of Bitcoin, even if I sent you Bitcoin now, HMRC would view that as a disposal, and I would need to keep a record of that, and at the end of the year, toss up all of the disposals I'd made for any potential chargeable gains. So that's a big drag on the adoption of Bitcoin purely as money in the UK. Other regimes are looking at this, and the theory here is twofold. One is that, and this is where the Labour government sits, we should tax absolutely everything that moves as much as we can. The other alternative theory is that a higher velocity of money in the system is actually better for the economy than taxing everything to death. And by velocity of money, I mean the ability of you to spend money freely and easily and quickly. Because, and it's a fairly obvious point, the more money is spent in the system, the more businesses there are, the more merchants, the more, you know, if the more consumption happens, and also the more investment. So those are sort of two competing theories, and I'm afraid the Labour Party is very much in the if it moves, tax it bracket. The US is looking at de minimis. I think $300 is the last one that I saw aired. The old Lummis-Gillibrand bill from about 4 or 5 years ago had a $200 exemption, which is one way to go. The Czech Republic has now got an exemption. If you hold Bitcoin for, I think, 3 years in the Czech Republic, then you can spend that Bitcoin freely, well, without a CGT hit, which seems like a sensible halfway house.
Germany has a similar, right? 1 year hodl, and then you're okay to spend it.
Yes, they did. The reason I didn't bring up Germany was because I think that law may currently be under attack, and it may be repealed. But yeah, very similar principle. And yeah, again, the idea there is velocity of money or tax everything to death. So that's probably one point. The second real change I'd like to see is more Bitcoin focused people in bodies like the FCA. Unfortunately, at the moment, there's very limited understanding within the FCA of the industry space, and that is, in fairness to the FCA, that is changing. I had a really good meeting at the Labour Party conference with the FCA actually, and I demonstrated a lightning transaction to them just to show how fast it was, because a lot of them are still in the 10-minute confirmation time. How can I buy coffee with this? So I grabbed my Bolt card and then did an NFC transfer directly to my phone, pounds into my wallet of Satoshi. Like Adam Beck, I also have a wallet of Satoshi on my phone, just for demo purposes.
Yeah, no, it works, right?
Yeah. So there are slow changes. That the last time I was in Parliament, had a really good meeting with I suppose the kernel of the newly formed all-party parliamentary group there, and the key we were trying to get across there was there are a few easy wins the UK could achieve. One of them actually has got over the line this week. So at the time, we recommended FCA drop its ban against ETNs and ETFs. They've just re-enabled ETN access for retail. So that's been a long time coming. That's something we've been pushing for a long time at BP UK. Other easy wins are ensuring that legitimate businesses in the Bitcoin space don't get debanked, and also that individuals wanting to make payments to and from exchanges, and exchanges are regulated businesses as well. You know, if I'm making a transfer of currency to another business that's regulated by the FCA, my bank shouldn't be able to stop that happening. I mean, it shouldn't be able to stop it happening anyway. But the idea that you sell at banks like Chase, owned by JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, the famous friend of Bitcoin, the idea that you have banks like Chase refusing to honor payment to another regulated business is completely absurd. And if the government that would be very helpful, I think. Yeah, I'm not a fan of big government, but there are certain things that governments can do which can help industry and help individuals at the same time, and that I believe is one of them. And then finally, the key thing that we've been pushing for a long time is some regulatory understanding that Bitcoin is different from an NFT, it's different from stable coins, it's different from a meme coin. And the analogy we use there is a company one. Our current regulation operates on a sort of same risk, same regulation principle. So if something new comes along, you look at comparable examples of risk, and then you try to apply existing regulation to the new thing. And in company terms, our regulation already distinguishes between, you know, a blue chip listed company, smaller cap companies, new companies that maybe you set up just to manage your own affairs in a small business at home.
Okay.
Some can be offered to the public, some of them can't. At the moment, all crypto, including Bitcoin, is put into one bucket and treated exactly the same as all equally worthless and equally dangerous. And so if I'm able to push that over the line before I give up and run for the hills, I'll be happy.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So to sum it up, it's kind of tax it a bit less or tax it a bit more intelligently when it comes to Bitcoin. To an extent, get out the way of it. And the third thing is Bitcoin is obviously not a company. I imagine people watching the live stream know that quite clearly. But yeah, crypto is typically, it's a company structure, whereas Bitcoin is, you know, categorically not. And the final point, which you missed off, but I know you were thinking it, was buy, be, hodl. I'm kidding, not financial. I'm kidding, not financial advice. Yeah. Okay. I'm really conscious of your time, Freddie. Are you sure? Okay, and 11:20 UK GMT now.
I can go for another 10 minutes. I need to drop at 11:30 GMT.
Gotcha. Okay. In which case, please can you answer this question from Steve, aka Nice Action, who says, "Has there been any uptake of ETN in the UK since they went live?"
Oh, this is a good question. I'm afraid I don't have the data to this. I can hazard a guess, though, which is that it will be relatively low. And the reason I say this is that I know Hargreaves Lansdown, for example, who are the most popular retail platform in the UK, have been explicitly recommending to their customers not to buy these products, which is pretty outrageous when you think about it. Hargreaves are supposed to be a platform that offers things for sale and just stays out of the way. And the fact that they're coming out and saying that you shouldn't buy products which give you exposure to the Bitcoin price is pretty strange at the same time. You know, they should be a neutral platform. And the FC, actually quite funny reading their public announcement on this. It was clearly said between gritted teeth, the guy didn't want to be lifting the ban at all. And he had to get in the thing that these are completely unregulated, and you stand a high chance of losing all your money. Right.
Okay. God, that's incredible. It's like walking into a shop and the shop assistant or the clerk saying, "Oh no, you don't want to buy that one. No, you don't want to. Go next door. Go next door. You know, there you'll be much better off." Like, what are you talking about? Yes, like, this is. You've walked into the shop. You are a potential customer. Let's treat you nicely and let's like help you on the way to a purchase because this is a business, right? I just don't understand the mental and moral almost gymnastics that has to go on in one's head in order for them to be like, "Yep, we've got a potential buyer here, but we should probably discourage them from buying anything related to that, you know, that Bitcoin thing." It's just mad. It's just mad. I mean, Nice Action follows it up by saying we need to get out of our own way.
Well, I mean, that's completely right. I 100% agree with that comment. Honestly, if Nice Action wants to run for office, I would definitely vote for him or her. I think we need to get out of our own way. It's probably the single biggest recommendation I could make to government and regulators. Yeah. You know, there are, like you said earlier, there are an awful lot of hard-working, dedicated Bitcoin in the country. There are a lot of Bitcoin companies. There's a lot of energy in the space, which is currently being hampered by, you know, the insistence that we tie our own shoelaces together. It's incredibly frustrating, and it makes you want to be American rather than British.
Well, a lot of Americans want to be British, so you know, there's that as well. Yeah. where I live in Portugal, there is still streams and streams of Americans coming in, typically Democrat voting Americans who are just, the anti-Trump crowd, right? But in the Bitcoin Twitter sphere, in Bitcoin conferences, it's all very pro MAGA. And we forget that there were still half of the country did vote for Democrats, right? And a lot of them are thinking, well, I don't have a voice anymore in the US. So they're coming to places like Europe and Portugal in particular. So yeah, I think we are also to an extent skewed by the content that we consume. And I, for one, I thought that the entirety of America was pro Bitcoin, but no, they've still got their own challenges. And it's a lot of the Republican camp of America is very much pro Bitcoin, but the Democrat camp, there are some Bitcoin Democrats, of course, but there are some obviously very anti it, and there are some that are pro Bitcoin, anti Trump, still Democrats. So it gives you something to talk about, right? And it gives you something to rally against, which is ultimately what's great for a live stream. So I'm grateful for it.
I mean, it is a bit of a shame. I kind of feel, and again, we see this in the UK where Reform and the Conservatives are much more pro Bitcoin than the Labour Party ever would or could be. And that's one of the reasons of what we try and do with BP UK is to make clear that actually, Bitcoin is useful for a lot of the causes that the Labour Party or the Democrats would espouse as well. Things like financial fairness and the incredible environmental benefits that can come from a thoughtful deployment of Bitcoin mining in the right way and in the right locations, supporting a sustainable and renewable grid, ensuring that access to finance, freedom fighters and humanitarians can keep doing their work even in the most extreme scenarios. Those are all causes that left-leaning people would ideally espouse. And it's a great shame that Bitcoin is politicized like that. And again, using a computer analogy, TCP/IP is not political. We can all use the same protocol. We all use HTTP. You and I are using it right now in order to communicate. If we email later, we'll both use SMTP in order to email. And again, returning to an earlier point, at some point we will no longer think about what it is that we're doing. We'll simply be transacting using money, and the fact that that money is Bitcoin will be neither here nor there.
Yeah. I mean, I look forward to that day. But along the way, we're going to have a lot more fun, a lot more dark days, and it's still a tremendous space to work in, and that's one of the reasons why I'm able to get up every day with a smile on my face, being like, this is a fantastic area of industry, I suppose, to work in, and it's a space where you meet optimists every single day. And I was with a friend yesterday who spent the past 7 years working around the Caribbean. He did French Guiana, he did Guatemala, he did not Guatemala, what's it called, Martinique and Guadeloupe. For some reason, Martinique and Guadeloupe, when I add them up in my head, it becomes Guatemala. But yeah, he was, and he said that he's come back to Europe to find work here. He's sort of a bit burnt out of working in developing countries, and he couldn't understand why Europeans were so downtrodden, so politicized, and so sort of despondent about the future, when he's just come from countries where they're just great. A lot of people are grateful to have a roof over their head and something to eat and like somewhat of a job to do. Yes, developing countries have a swathe of other problems, but there is this sense of optimism and like we can build a better future. And he came back to Europe and it was like, it's nice to hang out with you, Joe, because you actually think we can build a better future. And I was like, mate, come into this Bitcoin space. It's full of people that realize that, yes, you open up the newspaper, you go online, whatever it is, and it's just constant, like, stuff is getting worse, like the constant enshittification of, our spaces. But yet you speak with Bitcoiners and you realize, they are incredibly hardworking people like yourself, incredibly sort of diligent and assiduous. And then when it comes to these horrible barriers in front of them, they say, that's a barrier, but we can also get around it. And we can get around it because we do know that we are on the right side of history using this neutral protocol, and it will lead to a better human future. I mean, that's my rambling take at 11:30 on a Tuesday morning. But it's a great
take. It's true, and I very much believe that myself. Obviously, I grew up overseas, and I grew up in a developing country, but in Zimbabwe, there's a saying: it doesn't matter, we'll make a plan. Because you're continually getting hit with things. The road is falling apart, or you can't make a phone call because the copper cable has been stolen overnight. It doesn't matter. We're we'll root round this. And I like to think that that sense of optimism is something I still have. I mean, I have to stay optimistic because otherwise I'd be crying in a corner.
There's that as well, right? It's like you got two choices each day: cry about it, or like get up and do something. And
exactly, you must be a fan of Gladiator.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are. The wonderful line, Maximus to the Emperor right at the end. Death smiles. I knew a man once who said, "Death smiles at us all. All we can do is smile back." And,
that's you're going to go. There's the founder of Coinbase and blockchain.com, who's not very well known in the Bitcoin space because he's sort of retired from it. A guy called Ben Reeves. So I actually went to school with him, and he has a really good. This is a random link, but he has a Gladiator comment for his dad bod. Which is because he made a lot of money and sort of retired about it. It was like, right, well, it's time to get absolutely ripped. And there was pictures of him with a dad bod because he just had kids and stuff. And he was like, I will. And the line in Gladiator is like, I will see you again, but not in this life. But what is it? What is it?
We'll see you again. Now we are free, and I'll see you again, but not yet. Not yet.
But not yet. Yeah. So it's like pictures of him in his dad bod, and then it's pictures of him at the gym afterwards, being like, going full send. So there might be a Gladiator Bitcoin thing. But yeah, he founded blockchain.com and Coinbase, and there was another big one. And he's just a really interesting guy because he did a load of Bitcoin stuff and then just sort of faded into the background. But yeah, he was bought out by Brian Armstrong for a lot of money, but it could have been a lot more money because this was like 2019 that Coinbase, Brian bought him out. But anyway, that was a random ramble. Silver Fox very kindly says, as a Bitcoiner and a person committed to personal financial sovereignty, I send all my love and support from Australia. You are inspirations. Keep up the good work. So thank you, Silver Fox 50. That's very kind. Nice. I hope the sun is shining in Australia. I'm sure it is, right? Is it crap weather in the UK today, Freddie?
The sun is actually out today. It's been terribly bad for the last few days, and but today was sunny, so we're happy.
Beautiful. You're winning. It's raining in Portugal, but I'm actually I'm here for it because it hasn't rained for about 6 weeks. Yeah.
Good man.
Cool. I'm going to let you go because I know that you've got a busy day and you've got a hard stop at 11:30, which we've just passed.
I should drop. Just want to say it's lovely to chat. We haven't seen each other in the flesh for a long time, but hopefully soon.
Yes, absolutely. Last time I think was a flying visit to Kenya, I want to say.
Yeah. Are you at the ABC?
I should be.
Okay.
All
right.
I wanted to talk Kenya and that's Mauritius, right? The honeymoon.
Mauritius is
the Bitcoin honeymoon in Mauritius.
Oh. Well, I'll see you there for honeymoon then, hopefully.
Sounds good. Well, if not, I'm just talking to Jordan at the moment. I want to come to Competitive Advantage.
Cool. I'm at Bitfest on that Saturday, but I think you guys are all coming across.
Yeah.
So I may see you at Bitfest then.
Yeah, I worked out that even hiring an expensive car is better than paying trains to get across the UK. Not like a Fiat 500. Like you can get like a decent estate car, and it's still substantially cheaper than taking trains across the UK. So
it doesn't matter. We'll make a plan.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And also, the nice thing is that driving around the UK is probably actually better than taking trains. The whole climate change thing. Yeah, we'll have to park that for a bit. I'm going to be driving a nice car across the UK. So,
well, look, thank you. I appreciate the time, and it was really nice to chat, even if we're not in the same room.
Likewise, Freddie. Really good to see you. Really good to hang out. And yeah, to anyone considering following what BHODL is doing, it's very easy to find. Just type in, is it bhodl.io? I want to say bhodl.com.
And then all the data's there, and I'm easy to find on Twitter. It's just my name.
Gotcha. I'm going to pin that as a comment just now so that people can see it. Voila, it's there. And look out for the news in early November about their Lightning routing stats, as hopefully there's going to be some interesting stuff. And it might be why this is the one Bitcoin treasury company that does well. Because everything else is tanking. So who knows?
That's what we hope.
Awesome.
Take care, buddy.
Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, Freddie. Take care. Ciao, ciao. Amazing. That was the wonderful Freddie New. Like I say in the comment just there, bhodl.com or at Freddie New for to follow his work. We are, of course, streaming on RoxomTV as well as my YouTube channel, Joe Nakamoto. My camera has unfortunately packed up this morning, but that's okay because we have a wonderful guest who's going to be sharing the stage with me. In order to introduce this guest today, I wanted to show you a small clip of something I made a few years ago now. And it is a wonderful video, in my very biased opinion, about a guy who moved into sleepy suburban Britain to turn his Bitcoin dream into reality. And I'm not going to say any more. I'm just going to share with you the start of the video, just the first minute or so to set the scene.
Why bother taking the mission of trying to explain to all my friends and my family I'm selling my house to buy Bitcoin? That's bonkers. Because every single person that I've ever said that to has said, you are nuts.
As you can see, we're in the UK, English breakfast, mug of tea, and we're meeting with a guy called Steve, who has turned his house into an off-grid Bitcoin house. I've always wanted to make some content about the UK and about how Bitcoin is used here, but I think first we need to eat this, no? Good morning, good afternoon. I'm not sure what we're on now, but that was the introduction into what's called off-grid Steve. And the video I made there. Am I having a bit of an echo here? I might delete some people from the stage, and that should sort it all out. Okay, I think we're sorted. Okay, I'm going to introduce Steve to the stage now, ask him how he's doing. So, hello, Steve. How are you? Are you in your off-grid paradise van?
Morning, Joe.
Motorhome.
Yeah, no, I'm doing great. Thanks very much. The sun's just come out right in my face. It's lovely.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Another reason to move to the UK, Bitcoin country.
Absolutely.
So tell me, I wanted to bring you up today because I like to follow up with a lot of the people that I've done, videos with in the past or sort of documentaries about. We first met in Edinburgh, I want to say about 5 years ago at a Bitcoin conference.
That's right.
And you told me about this mental idea. So could you just sort of talk us through from Edinburgh to where we are today in your fully Bitcoin mining powered home?
Yeah, I think it was when we were in Bergen actually, at the lightning one where I said to you, I think do you want to do my story? I'm going to sell my house and commit fully to the sort of Bitcoin ethos. And since then, I sold my 3-bedroom end of terrace. I left the rat race and built myself a complete Bitcoin house. Yeah, I've got a caravan, a borrowed piece of land. I've shoved some solar panels on the roof, got a load of batteries in a shipping container, dug a giant trench to put in some internet because obviously you still need to be connected to the internet. And apart from that, I've been enjoying my life for the last couple of years, watching the Bitcoin price go up since I managed to sell my house and commit to the Bitcoin.
There you go. I'm just going to bring up the comment here because someone was asking what is the video called, and the video is called "He Sold Everything to Move Off Grid." Unfortunately, the SEO on that video is not good enough for me to just type in "Off Grid Steve." There's actually a YouTube channel of a guy called Off Grid Steve. Did you know this?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, like the first few times I was trying to share it with people, they were going, "Off Grid Steve, it's not. Who's this fella?" So that was quite interesting. But yeah.
But according to Queen, you are a man of honor. So there you go.
Oh, wow, good to hear.
Yeah. Cool.
No, well, I was watching you and Freddie, and I was very much agreeing with the idea of the Bitcoin space being full of people who are really optimistic and working out who all the people in England are that are doing the amazing stuff. I know Jordan Walker's. Is it Bitcoin Collective again?
Yeah, that's his company, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was the one who did the Edinburgh conference in the first place, wasn't he? I really enjoyed that. So yeah, no, I've got myself a ticket. I'm going to go to that one as well.
Oh, nice. Derby.
Yeah, in Derby. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
great.
Friday, isn't it? And
It
in
is on a
Derby?
Friday. Yeah, got to
Yeah,
take a day off for that one.
yeah. Or maybe I should have given you a lift.
Well, I'm now flying into Manchester really late on Thursday, hiring a car. And I was just saying to Freddie that, you know, it's so expensive to get trains up and down the country because after that I want to go see my parents up in Yorkshire, and to get trains all about it was like £400. And I was like, well, I can hire quite a nice car for that. So yeah, looking at just bombing up and down the country basically and enjoying that instead. But
I'm just hoping the sun comes out long enough to charge my Tesla up, so it doesn't cost me anything to get there.
yes, that is a perfect segue. Thank you, Steve. Okay, so tell everyone, I mean, I'm hoping that some people will have seen this video. If not, they saw a little minute intro just there. But can you talk us through how you are charging your Tesla, for example, how you are powering Bitcoin, how much money? Yeah, also, first question.
The further I went down the...
make
Go
doing
on.
this?
How much money did I make?
How much money do you make doing this per day?
About, it's less than it was when I was doing it before, because when we first talked, it was before the halving. During the summer, it was great. I was doing probably, I don't know, probably a tenner or something on a good day. Okay. Now it's getting less because I'm still using the miners and getting the heat. Because obviously, as we go into the winter, I'll run the miners pretty much most of the day, I would say, or at least one of them 24 hours a day, to heat the house during the winter, because I haven't got any other heating. I mean, I've got some gas that I can use for central heating if the electricity went out, but I don't want to ever use that. Basically, I just rather just use electricity for the whole time. So obviously, the more sun that we get, the more I can run the Bitcoin miners, and the more fun it is to do that. But yeah, the price fluctuates from earning nothing and heating my house to during the summer, £10-15 a day, sometimes. Pretty good.
Wow. That's decent, eh? It's decent. And what advancements have you had over the past sort of couple of months when it comes to this project? Like, do you have the same amount of miners? Do you have the same amount of?
Well, I maxed out at 3 miners because I'm still on a 100 amp mains fuse. So the maximum fuse I can have in my setup is 100 amps. So if I'm running 3 miners full on to have enough headroom to still be able to charge my car, that's max. Three S19s or 3 4 kilowatt miners, say, and 8 kilowatts for the car charger is about as maximum as you can run with the electricity I've got. But I have got quite a few more panels now. I've got the shipping container. I sort of extended out and built a roof over the top of the front of it, so that I've got a bunch more. And I've also added quite a lot more batteries, so I can go on. During the summer, I was off. I didn't have. I was totally off grid. I wasn't drawing anything. My batteries were charging up enough during the day that I could run a miner all night long, and it was joyous.
Wow.
So that was pretty good fun. But then it's annoying because you've got nothing to do with the heat in the summer. Like, you're literally producing too much, and it's just going out the back and out into the air.
So what can you do with that? Are you going to create a beef jerky business and dry out some beef? Or
I'm going to heat the pool. But the spoiler is that I'm going to be moving out of my caravan at some point soon. Within the next few months, because I want to do the whole project again bigger.
Whoa.
So I'm going to buy the piece of land so that I'm self-sovereign, and I'm going to set it up so that I don't have any bills and hopefully no mortgage or anything, and I can just try and disappear off the grid completely, so that the only people in England who will be aware that I exist will be Bitcoiners, basically. if I'm going to talk at conferences and talk to yourself. But yeah, I like the easiest way to deal with the politics at the moment is to just be outside of them. Like we were saying, if you can not do anything, I don't want HMRC taking money out of my bank account. That sounds terrifying. So if I can spend for all the products and services that I need to live, There's quite a few farms in the UK now that are popping up that you can buy beef directly from, and lamb with Bitcoin. If you can, there's quite a list of optimistic tradespeople around the area where you can pay them directly in Bitcoin. So yeah, it's really just sorting out how do we deal with this tax issue, because the government wants their slice and they are making it harder and harder for people. I mean, I've run businesses for 25 years. I'm fed up of dealing with all of the paperwork and more taxes, and it's getting more and more difficult to run a business because you have so much red tape. What's the way forward?
Yeah, but you are still looking in the UK. You're not looking at.
Oh yeah, no. When I was in El Salvador and I was looking around, and you could buy a house with a pool looking out to sea for like $150,000, something like that, and I was just like, but my kids are still here and they go to school here, so at the moment I couldn't just do that. But to be honest, over the last couple of years, speaking to more and more British Bitcoiners, the likes of Freddie New and Joe Bryan and all the people who are putting their neck out and doing all of the conference tours and setting up the businesses and trying to look at the legislation and lobby the government and all this sort of stuff, it's made me realize that this is my home. I want Britain to be amazing. I want to live in England and be an Englishman and be proud of what I've built and put all of my efforts towards making England better and making it somewhere that I can be proud to live. And I want a circular economies. I want Peter McCormack, what he's doing in Bedford, making it so that you can go and buy a coffee, or just the simple stuff. If we can get everybody in the UK to do that, spending in Bitcoin becomes very important. And anybody who's been in the space for a little bit of time and has a couple of cycles behind them can. Anytime you see any business that accepts Bitcoin, if you make the effort to try and get the Bitcoiner to do the work that you need, or buy the product or the service that you're after, we can make a difference.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, I just want to bring up a comment here from Sononi Snowflake. She asked, if you hooked up the internet via land, how would that work? Or would you use Starlink? I'm guessing you're using Starlink, are you?
I'm not using Starlink. I dug a massive trench. We've got a pipe that goes. Me and my brother spent nearly 2 weeks digging a giant trench so that we could get some internet hooked up. We've got fiber. I've got full fiber because I need to host stuff, and because I'm hosting a whole bunch of stuff for people. Part of my business is hosting various bits and pieces. So I had to have good internet. I couldn't. That's the one thing that I couldn't survive with, being off grid completely. So I have a giant trench which goes all the way to the nearest box with fiber in it, which took us quite a long time to do. But I would go Starlink if I could. But at the moment, you can't get static IP addresses on the Starlink connection, so you can't host services without more difficulty. So yeah.
Oh, right. Is that something that could change in the near future, though?
It has been changing quite a lot, and with these new SpaceX rockets that are going up and dishing out loads of Starlink satellites, they're making all sorts of changes. So I would think that probably by the time I start my next project, I may well be able to do that. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I mean, there are a lot of smart people watching today. If it's off grid, probably Starlink, otherwise land connections at home. So yeah, that's basically what you said, isn't it? That it's a direct connection. Yeah. Okay. And the other thing, you've got Raffo saying Steve is a man after my own heart. I know there are a lot of people, there are a lot of people that see what Steve has done and think, yeah, I want to do that too. That is a pipe dream. But then, you've got kids at school, or you've got, parents to look after, or you've got commitments.
Yeah.
And make it hard.
So I think it's not easy. There's, like just the simple thing of getting the caravan into the piece of land. It come on the back of 2 articulated lorries. So you have 2 giant articulated lorries with the caravan comes in 2 halves. In order to get that onto the land, it was, I don't know, a team of 6 people, took 3 days. It was a proper mission, absolutely, to get it here and to put it all together. And so, yeah, not for the faint of heart, I think would probably be the easy way of saying that.
Yeah. I mean, Raffo follows up. You've got respect coming from Zanoni again, and she'd love to do it, but completely burnt out. I hope you feel better soon. And yeah, being burnt out is the worst thing. Would not recommend to anyone. It sucks. But Raffo says, I'd be interested in knowing which farms accept Bitcoin for goods. Is there a directory? Are you getting this off btcmap.org? Like, how do people go
BTC
about
Map is the first thing I would say. There is, just Google it. Just Google it.
If I Google Bitcoin friendly farm UK, I'm going to find a provider, because in Portugal where I live, there's now this initiative called Erva Boca, which is the sort of Bitcoin farm initiative, and they buy a cow, they slaughter it, and they divide up all the meat, and they sell it.
Same sort of thing. Exactly the same sort of thing. So you have to wait, and then when the season's correct, then you get a load that comes through. I'm just trying to see if I can find it. I've got some. Yeah, I don't think I can do it live.
No, okay. I mean, you can share your screen on here if you want to, and then I can bring it up and you can look at it that way.
I've got too many. I'm not sharing all my bookmarks trying to look for.
Totally understand. Okay.
We'll do that on the next one.
Well, let's do it this way. I'm going to share my screen of BTC Map for the UK, and I mean, I'm not going to go near to. I can't really remember where you live anyway, Steve. So there's no issue with that. But let's do it this way. So for those that aren't familiar, BTC Map is sometimes it's blocked in app stores around the world. Sometimes it isn't. But for currently where I am in Portugal, it's okay to use. I was just looking at Lugano this morning because I couldn't believe that there are actually more than 300? It's about 300 merchants in this tiny city in Switzerland, which is amazing. It's mental. I mean, they are using
between like Madeira and El Zonte and Lugano.
Yeah,
Bedford's off the starting grid, but we need something much bigger, much better.
Have you seen this?
There's so many Bitcoiners in the UK. If we could just start. I was thinking of a mad challenge when you were talking about your Ironman. It was making me it was making me sort of thinking about challenges, and I was thinking I could do a cycle ride from here to Bedford, and then between here and Bedford, do every cafe, every pub, all the places that you could go in and ask and just ask them if they pay in Bitcoin. That's what I was going to say about positivity for UK as well. I've been going into cafes and pubs and restaurants, and every time I go to pay for something, asking them if they accept Bitcoin, knowing that they don't, but just trying to start this conversation for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years now, something like that. And for the first 6.5, 7 of those, I just got no, or not interested, or my blank stares. I've really noticed in the last year, 18 months, that people have started saying to me, no, we don't, but I am interested. How would that work? What would I be able to do? And there's really more and more so recently, even the last 6 months, I would say. But show tenacity every single time. My family, my girlfriend, everyone's just like, can we just not ask if we can pay in Bitcoin today? And I'm like, oh no, we're doing it, we're asking.
Well, you sometimes it's weird because you go like 5 or 6 shops with loads of no's or what's that, or no, never heard of it, or they'll say something like, well, it's the future, isn't it? I'm like, well, the future's now, mate, come on, like crack on. And I did it at a bike shop the other day where I've done loads of bike stuff, and he was like, man, I'm a believer. I'm a believer in this Bitcoin thing, man. And he went on like quite a deep rant, like just straight off the bat. And I was like, sick. Okay. So I was like, can I pay you in Lightning? He was like, don't know what that is. You can just pay straight to my ledger. And I was like, okay, fine. Right. And so, I did a €60 payment to his ledger. And then he was like, we can just pay like that if you want to. And I was like, well, if that's the way it works for you, then that's no problem at all. And, eventually I'll buy a bike off him in Bitcoin, and it would make sense then to do an on-chain transaction. And then the other one was a landlord for this office, actually. I was speaking to him, and he was like, yeah, so can you make the payments in cash, please? And I was like, oh, interesting. And eventually get him on a call, and I was like, yeah, so you want the payments in cash, but it's quite hard to get that amount of cash out of an ATM, like €900 of cash each month. It's quite a bit to get out. I have like a €200 withdrawal limit, so I'd have to go to like 4.5 ATMs to get that done. So I was like, well, you sound like an interesting guy. I just wonder if Bitcoin's ever come across your radar before. Like maybe I could pay you in that. And he was like, yep, here's my address. Let's go. And I was like, okay, brilliant. So it is a question of sort of gauging where someone is on that spectrum and trying to understand what they're like. And then maybe they might be interested in this Bitcoin thing. So it does surprise me.
Yeah, I found a farm shop.
Mm-hmm.
We were just walking down a footpath, and I came across a sign for a farm shop, and I went to a farm shop and just started chatting to the lady there, and she was like, I don't really know about this Bitcoin thing. Tell me about it, because somebody else asked me that. And I was like, oh, okay. When was this? And she's like, it was only a couple of weeks ago. Somebody else asked me if they could pay in Bitcoin. And I was like, okay. And just sort of explained the basics to her. And she was like, that's amazing. That's exactly what we need. I've been paying 4% for my credit card fees. If I could just get rid of that by itself, it would make such a difference. And I was like, okay, I know somebody who can help you out with that.
Huh. What do you recommend to people typically when they
normally bridge to Bitcoin?
Okay, bridge to Bitcoin.
I normally get to wallet Satoshi is obviously our favorite at the moment. It seems to be that it's making a big comeback now that they've made it self-custody, which is really good. What I wanted to ask you actually, I know when we had Moon Wallet, they made it incredibly easy to use, and it was such a great one to get like a taxi driver. Do you want to accept a payment? Yeah, just download Moon Wallet, boom, off you go straight away.
It's still going, right? Still going?
It is still going. It's still working fine, yeah. But it's not self-custody, even though you have the keys for it. And what they do is, if the main chain fees go up a load, then your Lightning payment will cost loads and take ages. So it's like, okay, so it's not really Lightning working properly. So what I was wondering is, with the wallet Satoshi, is that the same sort of thing? How have they managed to make that work?
I think it's a partnership with Lightsparks, David Marcus, the former PayPal guy.
Yeah.
And so it's not fully non-custodial. I don't know. I actually don't know. I've tried it out with the test flight a couple of months ago.
Right.
And I was a bit excited about it because, I've gotten so much slack for using Wallet of Satoshi and it being custodial and all that sort of stuff for so long. And now you can be like, well, Wallet of Satoshi is self-custody, but it's not the strictest self-custody in the same way that, a blue wallet.
It's still like a wallet. Like you would keep it, like if you use the analogy of you actually having cash in your wallet, like how much cash are you going to carry around with you? Well, not that much. So how much are you going to put in your wallet of Satoshi? Well, I want to buy a couple of coffees and a t-shirt. That's all good, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen OGs with literal Bitcoins on Wallet of Satoshi. So it's all about your wrist.
Yeah, if you're OGs and you've got Bitcoins hanging around, it's like, okay.
Like the people that do test transactions, I mean, what was a funny one recently? I don't think you'll mind it too much because as part of a demonstration in a class in Lugano, Giacomo was doing a test transaction on chain, and he was talking about UTXO management. And the UTXO, he was like, look, can we see the UTXO I've spent there was, oh shit, 3 BTC. I didn't mean to use that one. So he's accidentally doxed the fact that he has one UTXO of 3 BTC, which is, 300 grand, which is a small house or a very expensive car,
Well, it's the old wrench attack, isn't it? It's like, give me your phone, face, doing right, I'm having that.
Yeah. But with these OGs, like if they have a couple of Bitcoin on a wallet of Satoshi, it's because they are worth thousands of Bitcoin, or hundreds of Bitcoin. And so like I used to value.
I'll just put one on there for my Lightning spending. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
and I'll spend it for the rest of my days. Literally, I won't be able to spend it. But it's like when I was a student, a pound was very, very important to me. Yeah. Now I can lose a pound or a euro behind the back of the sofa and I will forget about it. It's a very, very tiny, like minutiae example of that. But these guys are dealing with numbers that is very, very hard to wrap your head around, like just how wealthy they are. And the other thing to think about is that when they've been around Bitcoin for so long, there is a certain numbness to the price. These guys were giving out Bitcoins at conferences. They'd have, paper wallets with a Bitcoin on it. Some of the OGs that goes to the Lisbon community were saying how much Bitcoin they've given out. And they're like, I've given out literally hundreds of Bitcoin over the course of my sort of Bitcoin career.
Try to think about it. Well, the conversation, people that have bought socks for, I spent, 5,000 Bitcoin on a bunch of socks in 2011 or something, and you're just like, oh, okay. Have you still got them? They're still comfy. It's pretty good.
My friends spent 10 Bitcoin on some weed as teenagers while experimenting in their teenage years. My friends, not me.
Yeah. My friends did too.
Yeah, there you go.
Did a transaction. My first ever Bitcoin transaction was helping a mate on the original Silk Road.
There you go.
Good. That must have been 2012 or something like that.
So it will be at least a couple of Bitcoin,
Yeah.
Which now is just an absurd amount of money. Absurd.
Okay. That was a 2-bed apartment up in smoke, quite literally.
Mad. Okay. So it talks a bit about Bitcoin, Bitcoin in the UK, your plans with Off-Grid Steve 2.0, let's call it. And this weekend you're going to Lugano, Switzerland's Bitcoin city. Talk to me about that. What's the plan there?
Yeah, I don't know really. I'm doing my first big on-stage conference talk thing.
Nailed it.
We'll see how that goes, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to talk about the project really, what I've done so far, what I'm trying to do, and try and evangelize Bitcoin in the UK and see if we can get some more optimism going for all the people who are here and getting bogged down by the current government state, and try and look at the optimist side of it, and just you can just do stuff, you really can just do stuff. So the more of us who just get on and do it, we've got an incredible pool of talent in the UK. We've still got engineers. If you look at the Formula One, there's so much development and engineering that goes on here. We look at the power, the fusion reactions that are trying to happen in Oxford. We've got incredible physicists and engineers building incredible stuff, and it's I just feel like we just need a little bit of a push, and then we could really excel and become world leaders, and everybody will be coming back to the country regardless of what the government says. They don't have to get out of our way. We'll just, in some sly roundabout way, do it for ourselves anyway,
There you go. And there you are on the speakers for Plan B Lugano for this weekend. So are you going to talk us through the Off-Grid Steve 2? Is that the plan with the talk?
Yeah. I'm going to talk. Well, I'm going to talk about a few things really. Yeah, the history, how I got here, and what I'm doing for the future. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. No, it's exciting stuff. And have you been to Lugano before?
I haven't. No, it's one of the few I haven't been to. I've been all around the world, but this is the third one in Lugano.
Fourth, actually.
Or fourth, is it? Right. Okay.
Because for me, I remembered it by Bitcoin prices, because the first one was like 18K, and it's very weird to go back there when the price is over 100K and have it then. I mean, last year it was almost 100K, but yeah. And it's also a great weekend because on the Sunday you get a lie-in because the clocks change.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And I'm speaking like 5:30 on Saturday afternoon as well. So it's like I'll definitely be ready for a beer by the time that's done.
Max Trotter saying, make sure you go up the funicular. There's a funicular in Lugano that's worth doing. Get the nice aerial view. And the other thing to worry about, well, not worry about, but just be aware of in Lugano is that, so they use Bitfinex Pay in the background and a Go Crypto integration for all of these merchants. So the payment is instant when it leaves your wallet. So like say you pay with Phoenix or Aqua or whatever Lightning wallet you like, it will show as paid immediately on your Lightning wallet. And then in the background, Bitfinex is doing its thing. It's doing a call request or something. And then it's doing a Go Crypto thing to create the receipt. And it's going to take you literally about 15 seconds before the receipt prints off. Wow, so for me, it's like, it's not great. Because
is that across the whole of Lugano? Like
almost everyone, unless they're like a super hardcore maxi that's like, I don't want that tech. I would rather use a Swiss Bitcoin. But there are people that are doing that because it is Switzerland and it is a place where there is a lot of Bitcoin activity. For example, like the Plan B Hub, which is like the co-working space with loads of Bitcoin activity in it. They are, they've got their own Bitcoin thing set up. They're probably BTC Pay server actually. But a lot of the restaurants and bars and things, you'll go and pay. And first thing you'll notice is just how expensive it is, and then the second thing is how long it takes. I just had Jeff Booth trying to call me on a live stream. This is mad.
Just join him in.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm really sorry. I'm on a live stream with Steve, one of your favorite people, right now. So
Hi, Jeff.
I will call you later. Thanks so much. Cheers, Jeff. Bye. That's something you don't get every day, so I really had to relish in that. Jeff Boo just called me.
Yeah, no, you just got, like casual name drop.
Amazing. And he will be. Is he going to be there on Friday? No, he's not.
I don't think so.
I can't see him as a speaker.
Well, it doesn't mean he won't be there though. He might just walking around chatting, like, because he's got so much time on his hands, you know.
True. He's a man that absolutely does live in the future. Yes, Jeffrey Walden is all over that. Jeff Booth, yes, he just called me. There's a big moment.
He's pretty much the Price of Tomorrow. If you haven't read it, for anybody, is just one of the most inspiring books. It's really living the world that you want to create. Let's manifest it together. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Let's manifest this entire thing. Everybody should do it. Everybody's local community, and that's what I want to see. Live in the world we want to create.
No, exactly. It's very much an inspiring book, and for me, it didn't make sense the first read through. So don't worry if it doesn't make sense the first read through. The idea that deflation is the natural state of the market, and prices fall to the marginal cost of production. These sort of key tenets of the book didn't make sense to me at first, but then after a while, they do. Okay. Yeah. And so what are you doing locally now? Have you got your own circular economy thing going? And what are you doing to boost?
I'm still banging on at all the same pubs and and shops asking them if they'll accept Bitcoin, and they're just like, "Oh God, he's going to ask us again."
Yeah.
Well, you know how we could just stop? Like, I'll never ask you again if you just say, "Yep." There's a few places that have that started doing it, but yeah, not everyone. But no, I've been concentrating a lot on. Part two. Once I got my, I had 3 different miners running, all working together, and the control boards and everything going with the hush boxes. I didn't have the motivation to build the Mark IV because the Mark IIIs were all working perfectly, and I didn't have enough any more capacity for my electricity. So that kind of stalled, and I was concentrating a bit more on fiat mining for a little while to make sure that I'd be ready for the next stage of the bull market. I've obviously been traveling loads as well. I'm going to not just the conferences, but all the other stuff, and enjoying life. My eldest daughter is now at the stage where she's learning to drive, so I've been doing
terrifying
white knuckle. No, she's great, to be honest. she's
really,
she's got to the point now where she's totally fine. But I mean, she rides a motorbike as well. So
yeah, I was going to say, is she the one that races?
It's more terrifying. She was doing last weekend. She was doing the big bag jumps, like the airbag. So they set up a giant ramp and then take off like the size of a 2-story house, and then land on the airbag and then roll off again.
Oh, as a father, that must be quite an intense thing to watch. No,
like everyone's going mental because Bitcoin's gone down 20 grand in a day or whatever it was, and I was like, "That's nothing. You should come and watch my daughter. That is way more terrifying."
I mean,
some perspective here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that would inspire.
Zoom out, or look at this.
Did you see the Red Bull challenge recently, where a guy dropped in off the side of a house, but it was on a skateboard, but it was like one of the world's biggest drop-ins? You see that one?
No.
It's just another amazing sort of Red Bull stunt, and yeah, it was just one of those things where you're like, well, what is the next sort of decade of human endeavor going to look like? How many more records we're going to break? Because it does just feel like everything is just getting more and more blown out of proportion, and kids are starting younger with these extreme sports too.
Well, she's 17 now, and she started saying to me, when I start riding like in competition, can you get Bitcoiners to sponsor me?
Oh, cool.
Yes, of course I can. You can be the Bitcoin biker girl and have all your orange gear, and we can repaint your bike with all the Bitcoin logos. I don't think anyone's done that yet. I know we've got the Bitcoin racing team, but it's the cheat code, isn't it? That is literally the definition of the cheat code. I was like, I like it. She's like, okay. She was banging on about being on YouTube when she was 10, 11. And now I'm like, okay, she's probably she's grown up enough to actually do it now if she wants to. And she started asking again. I was like, well, okay, all right, I better start thinking about that then.
No, absolutely. The Bitcoin biker, there was a guy who now lives in Thailand who used to do Bitcoin motorbike tours around Southeast Asia.
Oh, right, yeah.
Really nice guy called Captain Sid, who I met in Chiang Mai. But he wasn't doing like Bitcoin racing on a motorbike, and he's not a woman as well. So there's that thing that taps into it. And then, I mean, I saw when I did this Ironman this weekend, I wore a Bitcoin. I didn't realize there was a triathlon Bitcoin team. I wore the Try Bitcoin logos, and and the sponsors were Mashankura, Bitcoin Vitsund, and Bitcoin Akasi. So all South African sort of Bitcoin things, and it's bright orange suit, says Try Bitcoin everywhere. And I like the idea that it's Try Bitcoin, like TRI Bitcoin, but it's basically
it's a play on words. Try Bitcoin,
yeah, which is quite cool. So yeah, there's still so much scope for like whatever your hobby is in life, you can put Bitcoin on top, and automatically you tap into
whatever your business is, or whatever you spend your time doing. Yeah, absolutely.
With a wonderful sort of group of people. Okay, I've got to jump off the air at 1:15, Steve. So is there anything you'd like to talk about or promote or shill for the last couple of minutes? We've got quite a few people watching at home, which is nice.
No, I think just go to conferences.
Really?
Anybody that tells you that it's a waste of money and you're better off saving your money or saving your Bitcoin, if you're at the beginning of your journey, absolutely fair enough. But if you've got started stacking some Bitcoin, you know what's going on, go to the conferences, talk to the people. It'll change your life. And at the moment, we're relatively early still. The best minds in the business, you can just go and chat to them, and they're so available to be spoken to, and so happy to talk to everybody at conferences that go see them, go do it, and come see me in Lugano.
Exactly. There you go see Steve on Friday on the main stage, the Friday afternoon on the main stage of Plan B Lugano. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, I totally agree with you, by the way. Like for me, I was going to conferences as a journalist, and then I realized that I could be on stage as well. And then that sort of inspired me to get up there and do something about it. And that eventually sort of gave birth to this Joe Nakamoto thing, which I'm now able to do pretty much full time. So, oh my God, there's a triathlon Strava group. Checking Try Bitcoin group. I didn't know there was a Try Bitcoin Strava group, but I should join that. I absolutely should. Snowflake wishes you good luck, Steve, for this weekend.
Thanks very much.
Cool. All right. Well, if you got nothing else to say, so I wasn't going to say like that. But if there's something else to add, then I will bring this to a close now. I'll see you on Thursday or Friday in Switzerland. Okay. Make sure your Lightning wallets are charged up for your trip.
Yeah. I'll stick a couple of Bitcoin on there.
Just a couple. We can lose that. Don't worry. And as Jeffrey Waldron says, make sure you then restack those spent sats. Absolutely.
Exactly right.
Spend and restack. It's very, very important. Cool. Thank you to Raffo. Thank you to Queen. Thank you to Jeffrey. Thank you to Sononi, Pepe, Paradigm Miner, all of you guys for tuning in. It's so nice to hang out and talk Bitcoin on a morning. Thank you so much to Steve for coming on. Please do check out the video, which I put up earlier, and I'm going to put up one more moment again. The video is called He Sold Everything to Move Off Grid, and it will absolutely inspire you to do some cool stuff with Bitcoin today.
And follow me on Twitter at Nice Action.
That one too. It is at Nice Action, his Twitter handle, which I'm going to pin up there.
And my Nostr is on my Twitter.
And his Nostr is npub1412. I'm kidding. I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
Sick. Okay. Thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful day. Check out RoxomTV. I've been Joe Nakamoto. Do what you love and save in Bitcoin. Ciao.